Hi everyone, it's Natasha from AxelsonAcademy. Today I am going to be reviewing how to administer the PAST test, and PAST stands for Phonological Awareness Screening Test. The PAST test was created and released for use for free. You can download it online by David Kilpatrick. Now, this test is a diagnostic test, so it's not a test that you'll give everybody in a full classroom. You would give this to selected individuals that you want more information on regarding their phonological awareness. And phonological awareness targets the ability to hear separate sounds within a word. So we're looking to see, can an individual identify those sounds and manipulate them? Sometimes we're going to have them add sounds in, sometimes we're going to have them take sounds out or move a sound around. And we know from the research on both reading difficulties and dyslexia that often this is the underlying root of the difficulty with reading. So if we can figure out which individuals need extra support and extra practice in this area, that's really beneficial to us for our teaching. And then if we can say a student or an individual is really strong in their phonological awareness, then we know they have a good foundation for being able to then link letters to sounds. Now, because this is a phonological awareness test, it's all listening, the student or the individual doesn't need any materials in front of them. So you'll have your materials as the test administrator, but you need to put a folder or a binder up so that the person taking the test can't see them. You can give this test to anyone in kindergarten all the way on up, as old as you would like them to be. So today I have got my husband to volunteer here as our sample student. Dan is going to be our sample, and you're going to hear his voice as he answers the questions in this test. I'm going to put the camera so that you can see me scoring them, because scoring this test and following the reactive protocol that you have to follow if a student gives the correct or the incorrect answer is really going to be the focus for the test administrator. So let's get started. First thing you need to do is you need to print out the instructions. So you should always familiarize yourself with the instructions of the test that you're going to give. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to be summarizing some of the most important pieces of this test. If you have a very specific question, you might need to look further into these directions on how you handle certain situations. But overall, I'm giving you the gist of how to administer this test. The other thing that you need to print out is you need to print out the test form that you're giving. So Kilpatrick gives us 4 different forms here, A, B, C, and D. That means you can give the test more than once in the year. You just give a different form. Because this is a reliable and validated test, we know that the 4 forms give us the same information. They've substituted in different words, so they're not identical, but they're testing the same skills. So it's fine to give any form you would like. You can give them in order, A, B, C, D, throughout the year. Maybe you only give one form in the year at the beginning of the year to sort of get an idea where a student is. I always like to think of a pre and a post test to see how the student has progressed through the year. So a lot of times I end up giving this twice a year. But remember, not to everybody, or you'll be testing way too much, just to those specific individuals that you need that extra diagnosing information that you can get from a diagnostic test like this. So I'm going to be using Form A here, and each form is 2 pages long. You can do 2 separate pages, you can do them back to front, doesn't matter, because the subject that you are testing doesn't see them anyway, so whatever you'd like is fine. I'm going to be writing up here, can you see that?
Yes, take your hand out for a second. I'm focusing on the paper.
Yes, get the paper in.
Okay.
Focus. Okay.
There we go.
Are we good?
Yep. So,
Okay. You can sit there, that's fine. And I'll be making some comments to them as we go through.
okay.
Okay, we're recording, we're on. Before I begin this test, I always put at the top margin a few things that I want to remember. And the first thing is how you are going to notate correct and incorrect answers. So if you put an X is for a correct answer, that is automatic. So automatic means they have to answer it within 2 seconds. And you can get used to sort of how that feels. I count in my head, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. You put a 1 if they are correct, but it's not automatic. So that's if it's between 2 seconds to 5 seconds to answer. And then you're going to give them a 0 if it's incorrect. And that will be if it's either your subject has not answered within 5 seconds or they give the incorrect answer. So you're going to begin at level D here, and your job as the test administrator is to read the bold and italicized words here. As you're reading them and you're looking at the different questions you're going to be asking, anything that is in parentheses is the part that you are manipulating. So the first few are really on the easier side, and that's because it's giving you and the person taking the test some time to get used to this. If you are testing a student in kindergarten or first half of first grade, I usually do it for all of first grade, so we'll say kindergarten and first grade, you're going to give them all of the possible examples for levels D and E. If you are testing a student that's second grade or older, you can only give them the first example here that they answer, and if they have an automatic correct answer, you can skip the rest of the line. To remember that rule, I put a squiggly mark under the first possible questions here to remind me if they get that automatic and correct, I skip the next 2. And I'm going to do that for levels D and E for second graders and above. This saves you some of your testing time because these are really the easiest questions. We're expecting them to get these correct. You do not time this test, but you do want to keep up a good pace, and you go on to the next question after that 5-second mark is hit. So here we go. Say bookcase.
Bookcase.
Now say bookcase, but don't say book.
Case.
Okay, so that was a little bit sort of borderline automatic. I'm going to give a 1 there as correct, but not automatic. So I'm going to do the rest of the line. Say sunset.
Sunset.
Now say sunset, but don't say sun.
Set.
Say spaceship.
Spaceship.
Now say spaceship, but don't say ship.
Space.
Say silver.
Silver.
Now say silver, but don't say sill.
Ilver.
So our student said ilver, leaving off the s, so that would be incorrect. Now, as the test administrator, I have to give the feedback that is listed here. If you say silver without saying sill, you get ver. And that is modeling the correct answer, but we don't say it was wrong, we just give that feedback and we go on to the next one. Say market.
Market.
Now say market, but don't say mar.
Ket.
Say gentle.
Gentle.
Now say gentle, but don't say tull.
Gen.
Level E, we have the prompt change a little bit, but we follow that same pattern. You're going to fill in the words that are being asked here, and you're going to take away the parts that are in the parentheses. Remember to keep that pace going as quickly as you can. Say umbrella.
Umbrella.
Now say umbrella, but don't say
Umbrella.
And because Dan got that one automatic, and it's the number 1 question here, I'm going to skip the next 2. We automatically give him the automatic and correct mark for that, assuming he knows those, and we go on to the next line. Say alphabet.
Alphabet.
Now say alphabet, but don't say al.
Alphabet.
And that was automatic, so I can assume that that level is all automatic also. So let's come over to our scoring line here. Now, normally I'm with a student, I just keep giving the test because you want to keep that student going. But because we're here with the video, I'm going to show you how I would go back and write the correct scores here. So if they got an X for automatic and correct, or a 1, both of those are correct answers. So I count up all that are correct or automatic. I have 5 here. So of the first line, they got all 3 correct, and 2 of them were automatic. In the second line, they got 2 of them correct, and 1 was automatic. Over here, all 3 were correct, all 3 were automatic, all 3 were correct, all 3 were automatic, and then I can calculate up my total score here. So here I have 9 out of 12 automatic, and I have 11 out of 12 correct. And this is the number that we look at for your discontinue rule. So we're going to continue giving this test until you have a 0, a 1, or a 2 out of your total bold-faced number here. So here's my next one that adds up to 10. When I have a 0, 1, or 2 out of 10 correct, that's when I'll stop. Here we go. One important thing I forgot to show you here is that on levels F and G, there is also a routing rule here for students that are second grade or above. Give them the first 2 examples in level F. If they're both automatic, you can skip the next 3, go on to level G. In level G, same thing. Give them the first 2. If both of those are automatic, then you can skip the next 3. However, on the second page, you do have to give all of those possible answers. Here we go. Say feet.
Feet.
Now say feet, but don't say f.
Eat.
Say cough.
Cough.
Now say cough, but don't say k. If
Off.
you say cough without the k, you get off. Cough, off. Now say tame.
Tame.
Now say tame, but don't say t.
Aim.
Now say time.
Time.
Now say time, but don't say t.
I'm.
Say cone.
Cone.
Now say cone, but don't say k.
Own.
Say guide.
Guide.
Now say guide, but instead of g, say r.
Gride.
If you say guide and change the g to r, you get ride. Guide, ride. Say more.
More.
Now say more, but instead of say d.
Died.
If you say more and change the to d, you get door. More, door. Say gum.
Gum.
Now say gum, but instead of g, say th.
Thumb.
Say lead.
Lead.
Now say lead, but instead of l, say s.
Said.
Now say feel.
Feel.
Now say feel, but instead of f, say s.
Seal.
So real quick, I'm going to total these up. So there are 4 correct here and 3 that are automatic. And then we have 3 correct and 2 that are automatic. So we have a total of 5 out of 10 automatic and 7 out of 10 correct. Not the 0, 1, or 2, that's my discontinue use, so I know I keep going. Now, when you're giving this, you might want to tell your students at the beginning, this is like a word game. And this word game starts out easy, but it gets harder as we go along, and it gets harder for everyone. So here we go. Say sleep.
Sleep.
Now say sleep, but don't say s.
Leap.
Say crane.
Crane.
Now say crane, but don't say k.
Brain.
Say grew.
Grew.
Now say grew, but instead of g, say t.
2.
If you say grew and change the g to t, you get true. Grew, true. Say crane.
Crane.
Now say crane, but instead of k, say b.
Brain.
Say flows.
Flows.
Now say flows, but instead of f, say k.
Close.
Say went.
Went.
Now say went, but don't say t.
When.
Say range.
Range.
Now say range, but don't say j.
Rain.
If you say range without the j, you get rain. Say wheat.
Wheat.
Now say wheat, but don't say t.
We.
Say niece.
Niece.
Now say niece, but don't say s.
Knee.
Say drive.
Drive.
Now say drive, but don't say z.
Dry.
Really quickly, before I go on to the next section, I'm going to total how many overall were correct and how many were automatic. And I'm looking to see if the correct number is 0, 1, or 2. It's not, so we're going to continue on. Say ran.
Ran.
Now say ran, but instead of a, say a.
Run.
Say kit.
Kit.
Now say kit, but instead of I, say a.
Cut.
Say den.
Den.
Now say den, but instead of e, say a.
Done.
Now say beak.
Beak.
But instead of, now say beak, but instead of, okay, so now I've made a mistake. If that happens, skip that one, go on to finish that section, and go back to repeat that one. Say fine.
Fine.
Now say fine, but instead of I, say o.
Phone.
Say beak.
Beak.
Now say beak, but instead of E, say A.
Bake.
And I quickly go and tally that up. We had all 5 correct. We had 3 of them automatic. Say bread.
Bread.
Now say bread, but don't say r.
Bed.
Say sneak.
Sneak.
Now say sneak, but don't say n.
Seek.
Say crew.
Crew.
Now say crew, but instead of r, say l.
Clue.
Yes, if you say crew and change the r to l, you get clue, crew, clue. And that was a little bit slow for the 5-second rule, so I am not going to give credit there. Say scale.
Scale.
Now say scale, but instead of k, say n.
Snail.
Say sneeze.
Sneeze.
Now say sneeze, but instead of n, say k.
Skis.
Ski. Say some.
Some.
Say some, but instead of say n.
Sun.
Say rhyme.
Rhyme.
Say rhyme, but instead of say d.
Dime.
If you say rhyme and change the to d, you get ride. Boy, I even had to think of that one. Let's try that again. If you say rhyme and change the to d, you get ride. Rhyme, ride. Say night.
Night.
Now say night, but instead of t, say s.
Nice.
Say seam.
Seam.
Now say seam, but instead of say t.
Steam.
If you say seam and change the to t, you get seat. Seam, seat. Say keep.
Keep.
Now say keep. Say keep.
Keep.
Say keep, but instead of p, say z.
Keys.
Say ghost.
Ghost.
Now say ghost, but don't say s.
Goat.
Say roast.
Roast.
Now say roast, but don't say s.
Wrote.
Say craft.
Craft.
Now say craft, but instead of f, say k.
Crat.
Cracked. If you say craft and change the f to k, you get cracked. Craft, cracked. Say sift.
Sift.
Now say sift, but instead of f, say p.
Sipped.
Say trust.
Trust.
Now say trust, but instead of s, say k.
Trucked.
Say deft.
Deft.
Now say deft, but instead of f, say k.
Decked.
Okay, we go back. We add all these up. 4 correct, 3 automatic. Dan did really, really well and made it to the end of the test here. Often your students, of course, will reach the ceiling before we end the test. And you would stop if that number was 0, 1, or 3 for a full section. Dan, of course, scored very, very well here. And then you're going to transfer your scores up here by section. Each section, section D is the basic syllable, and you will fill in those scores. When you were looking at the total scores, remember that a level is passed if correct, if at least 4 out of 5 at that level are correct. A level is considered automatic if 4 out of 5 items were automatic, or 3 out of 3 for the syllable letters. So for most kids, it says here that the highest correct level will be higher than their highest automatic level, because we're assuming they can get more right if we give them more time to process it. And you'll put that in the top here also. So before we begin testing with Form B, I'm going to put my little coding system at the top. An X is for the automatic answers, and that's going to be if they're under 2 seconds, a 1 if they're between 2 to 5 seconds for the answer, so that's just plain correct, and then a 0 if they're incorrect or they don't answer. And then I'm going to put my special squiggly lines down here for the rerouting to save time. We know that if they get the first of these in part D and E, the first one in the line, automatic, you can mark the next two automatic if they are in grades 2 or above. And then when we get to levels F and G, if they get the first 2 automatic, you can then skip the next 3 and just count that section as automatic. So here we go, Dan, we're ready. Say leapfrog.
Leapfrog.
Now say leapfrog, but don't say leap.
Frog.
Dan got that automatic, so I am going to give him the next 2 automatic. We assume he knows those because these are the most basic here. Say corner.
Corner.
Now say corner, but don't say corn.
Horner.
If you say corner without saying corn, you get ner. Say member.
Member.
Now say member, but don't say mem.
Burr.
Say marble.
Marble.
Now say marble, but don't say bull.
Mar.
So I'm going to go across just really quickly, and I'm counting these up. Oh, we got 3 automatic and correct. And if they're automatic, they're also correct. And then we had 2 that were correct and 1 that was automatic. Say carnation.
Carnation.
Now say carnation, but don't say car.
Nation.
Say gymnastics.
Gymnastics.
Now say gymnastics, but don't say gym.
Nastics.
Say September.
September.
Now say September, but don't say sep.
Timber.
Say ornament.
Ornament.
Now say ornament, but don't say or.
Nament.
Say atmosphere.
Atmosphere.
Now say atmosphere, but don't say at.
Mosphere.
Say Africa.
Africa.
Now say Africa, but don't say af.
Fricka.
And we got them all correct. And we got 2 automatic. Now for this next section, if Dan gets the first 2 automatic, I can skip the next 3 because he's older than 2nd grade. Say far.
Far.
Now say far, but don't say f.
R.
Say name.
Name.
Now say name, but don't say n.
Aim.
Say kite.
Kite.
Now say kite, but instead of k, say r.
Rame.
If you say kite and change the k to r, you get right. Kite, right. Say cane.
Cane.
Now say cane, but instead of k, say r.
Rain.
Say time.
Time.
Now say time, but instead of t, say r.
Rhyme.
Say soup.
Soup.
Now say soup, but instead of s, say h.
Hoop.
Say share.
Share.
Now say share, but instead of sh, say h.
Hair.
Okay, and then very quickly, I'm going to go back and fill in the ones that I was allowed to skip because of the routing rule here. and give credit for that. And I usually do not count these up while the student is sitting right there. I would go back and do this part, but for the sake of showing the totals here and making sure that I haven't reached my ceiling with you, I am totaling them up in front of you. Okay, we're doing very well, so we continue. Say sleeve.
Sleeve.
Now say sleeve, but don't say s.
Leave.
Say great.
Great.
Now say great, but don't say g.
Gate.
If you say great without the g, you get rate, great, rate. Now, one thing I want to point out to you, I said g, I really shouldn't have. G. You want to clip that schwa sound off of it. So g with no, as short as you can with no schwa sound. Say freeze.
Freeze.
Now say freeze, but instead of f, say t.
Trees.
Say crew.
Crew.
Now say crew, but instead of k, say t.
True.
Say proud.
Proud.
Now say proud, but instead of p, say k.
Crowd.
Say sword.
Sword.
Now say sword, but don't say d.
Sore.
Say meant.
Meant.
Now say meant, but don't say t.
Men.
Say seat.
Seat.
Now say seat, but don't say t.
See.
Say grout.
Grout.
Oh, I made a mistake. Go on to the next one. Say wide.
Wide.
Now say wide, but don't say d.
Why.
Say group.
Group.
Now say group, but don't say p.
Grew.
Say man.
Man.
Now say man, but instead of a, say e.
Men.
Say neck.
Neck.
Now say neck, but instead of e, say ah.
Knock.
Say dot.
Dot.
Now say dot, but instead of ah, say e.
Debt.
Say loan.
Loan.
Now say loan, but instead of o, say I.
Line.
Say side.
Side.
Now say side, but instead of I, say e.
Seed.
Say spy.
Spy.
Now say spy, but don't say p.
Sigh.
Say claim.
Claim.
Now say claim, but don't say l.
Came.
Say crime.
Crime.
Now say crime, but instead of r, say l.
Lane.
If you say crime and change the r to l, you get climb. Crime, climb. Say grew.
Grew.
Now say grew, but change the r to, sorry, oops, I made a mistake. Go on to the next one. Say cloud.
Cloud.
Now say cloud, but instead of l, say r.
Crowd.
Say grew.
Grew.
Now say grew, but instead of r, say l.
Clued.
Did you say clue or clued?
Clued.
So if that happens and you can't understand the student, you can give them two choices like that, like I did, glue or glued, and the student chose one and then that one wasn't the correct one, so I don't give credit. If they did choose the correct one, then I would give them a 1 for thinking about it a little more not being automatic, but it is correct. Say set.
Set.
Now say set, but instead of t, say d.
Said.
Now, if a student self-corrects like that, they start to say something and they correct it, you give them the two choices again. So you said set, said. Which answer is it, set or said?
Said.
Yes. And if they get that correct, you give them the 1 for correct. So self-correcting is fine, but we make sure that that's the one that they want to select. Say when.
When.
Now say when, but instead of n, say t.
Went.
If you say when and change the n to t, you get wet. When, wet. Say soup.
Soup.
Now say soup, but instead of p, say n.
Snoot.
And don't laugh if they say it's snoot. If you say soup and change the p to n, you get soon. Soup, soon. Say tone.
Tone.
Now say tone, but instead of n, say d.
Toad.
Say knife.
Knife.
Now say knife, but instead of f, say t.
Night.
Say dusk.
Dusk.
Now say dusk, but don't say the s.
Dut.
If you say dusk without the s, you get duck. Dusk, duck. Now say shelf.
Shelf.
Now say shelf, but don't say l.
Chef. Chef.
Say rift.
Rift.
Now say rift, but instead of f, say s.
Wrist.
Say test.
Test.
Now say test, but instead of s, say n.
Nest.
If you say test and change the s to n, you get tent. Test, tent. Say left.
Left.
Now say left, but instead of f, say p.
Leapt.
Okay, beautiful. Now, of course, Dan, being very smart, gets through the whole test here. And you want to remember that this is tricky for everyone. If you find yourself as the test administrator thinking through this and thinking it's tricky, it is tricky. It's tricky to give and it's tricky to take, and that is totally normal. It does get increasingly harder. And for those of us who read, we in our mind are thinking of the letters a lot of times, and we're doing that substitution of letters. And actually, once you start to read, sometimes that slows you down a bit with these types of tests because you're adding in that component of knowing the code, the alphabetic code that you're using. A young child that doesn't relate the sound to a specific letter yet actually might have an easier time in some cases just focusing in on the sound. For them, it's a completely auditory piece. Sometimes as adults, it's hard for us to separate the auditory skill that you're doing from the letter that you know it stands for that sound once you were spelling it. Okay, I'm gonna go back and I'm going to total these up. Dan, you did great. So we have 4 that are correct here. We have 1 that is automatic. We have 3 automatic, 5 correct, and I total them up here. So this looks really good. And We're really happy if they are getting them correct. Eventually, that level of automaticity certainly is something that we're working with. And doing activities like this is like the type of activities you would see in a Hegarty intervention, where you work and do a few little oral games like this every single day, and students really do pick up on that quickly. Okay, I'm going to total all these, 8, 9, and then we have 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Oops, I got 32 out of 20. That probably is not correct. Let's try it again. 18, 28, 29. Oh, that's because this is separate. Don't do what I just did. This is one section here. This is another section here. Okay, so this is out of 20. Okay, that looks good. And then I am going to come across to the top. Each of these results are your correct and automatic, and they've listed the name of the section, basic syllable, but basic syllable is level D and E2. So we're looking at the basic syllable here. So I would get my total 11 out of 12 and 6 out of 12. And then the next is the initial phoneme onset rhyme level, and I get my 9 and my 6. And then I come to my next page. We have our basic phoneme level, 9 and 4. Advanced phoneme, that starts down here and is this whole section here, 18 and 1, and then you're going to calculate those up. So I have 17 out of 52 automatic, and then I have 38, 47 out of 52. So the highest correct level is going to be the level that you have 4 and up, and I'm going to find where it says this. So total scores, the level that is passed as correct is if you get at least 4 out of 5 at that level correct. So I'm looking at my scores here. Did I get 4 out of 5 correct at all the levels? Yes. So Dan does not have a problem with phonological awareness, which is wonderful. And you know what? We're hoping that your kids are pretty strong in this. But we also know that if students show a weakness in being able to hear the phonemes, hear the sounds, and manipulate the phonemes either with addition or subtraction, or we call that deletion of phonemes, or substitution of phonemes, that can be a real cause for trouble as they start to link letters to those sounds. And in fact, this is really evident with students that have dyslexia or other identified reading difficulties. So we always look here as one of the base skills that students have to have before they start being able to read and link the letters to the sound. So we go back to this level to make sure there isn't a difficulty there. So you've given the past test, and the question really is, so why do we even care about this? Well, if your student has good phonological awareness skills, they are well set up to now start to link those sounds to the letters. This is where a student who has phonological awareness skills, you can say, okay, we're going to take the word cat. This pillow looks like a cat. Let's listen for the sounds and tap it. K, a, t, cat. Okay, take that first sound, k, and what letter says k? And they can write that down. What letter says a? What letter says t? And by making that leap to connect the sound to the written letter or the read letter, maybe they're looking at the word cat. Okay, let's look at that letter C. What sound does it make? That helps them. And then as they're building that lexicon of words that they know, they start to relate those to each other. So they see the word cat, and your brain starts to automatically process word parts. So they've seen that at ending enough, they can substitute in that initial letter to bat, to mat. And that's really why we have all those decodable texts that we need, because we are working on that repetition. Now that we can see letters, identify the sounds that go with them, we can manipulate those letters to make more words. Let's face it, as the teacher, you cannot teach every single word that there is, but we are going to be exposing our students repetitively to word parts. And if they correctly are mapping those word parts on their brain, and we call that orthographic mapping, that's how they can recognize those word parts in new words. And that's really empowering for students, because here's 6 words that I know, mat, pat, bat, and sat, and I come to another word that has the at ending, I can figure that out myself. So this is really laying the foundation for those beginning readers. Now, if your student doesn't test well and you find that they have an area of need here, you might need to take some intervention time. In fact, you should take some intervention time with that student or small group of students to build these skills. Heggerty has a great intervention program. A lot of your intervention programs are going to have pieces of phonological awareness and then those beginning phonics skills. Because let's face it, we don't want to keep kids from texts. We're not going to be saying, oh, you're in 2nd grade, you still don't have the sounds down well. We're not going to show you any letters. We're going to be working on those sounds, manipulating the sounds, but we're also bringing in that decodable text and those phonics skills right away too. An intervention like PALS out of Vanderbilt University is excellent with that, because you're linking the sounds to the letters right away. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.